Patrol was responsible for the massacre at Akira. Can we trust it?
We don't have much choice. She's the best predictive tactician we have. Control's plans always worked. It was the losses that were unacceptable. If we are going up against this thing that destroyed our fleet, we need her.
So welcome back everybody to episode 3 of my Kickstarter series. Today we're going to take a look at Strike Force Zero and its director's cut,
We're approaching the station.
which is basically a space fighting simulator / arcade game that mixes elements from the old TIE Fighter and Wing Commander series
New fighters folding in.
with
It's a scout team.
soundscape and art style of the Homeworld series, which I enjoyed as a kid and teenager very much. But it involves a little bit of anime mecha action as well, as you will see in a second. Here are the obligatory swarm missiles, and in a short time you will see the mech suit with dodging, which is very reminiscent from its setting to the Robotech Macross series with transforming spaceship. So the original pledge or Kickstarter campaign was done by the devs because they had the game finished, but they wanted to polish it even more, and they asked for fans basically to give them an additional months to polish the edges that they still discovered in the game, because they didn't want to
Forces on multiple decks.
release it in an incomplete form,
I need that station secure.
which I really love, because currently there are so many games, especially it's even more true for the recent history with all the early access games that are on Steam nowadays, and all the betas that you can only join by paying full price money for them. So I really dig this the stake that the basically the developers of Strike Force Zero had, where they said, okay, you know what, we want to release a good game, so please give us a little bit more time to polish our game so that it's really as good as we want it to be, and don't let us rush this game to market, as is the case so often in the recent history, where you have a game that comes out only to be patched with something like a gigabyte of additional data.
Copy that. Start laying the explosives and begin cargo transfer. Control, are you ready to go?
Not yet, Captain.
And
I have a ship. I need a pilot.
as you can see here,
Reynolds is the best we have.
you can switch between third and first person. In this part of the video I'm flying with keyboard and mouse.
Adams, you heard her.
In the newer version, which I just recorded yesterday,
Introduce myself.
I used a joystick to control my ship, which feels much more intuitive, especially when you're coming from War Thunder realistic simulated battles as I have flown in the recent past quite heavily. So as a spaceship, then that's what I'm just doing here in the background. As a spaceship, you have like a primary weapon, which is either a plasma cannon or a Gatling gun, and you have secondary weapons or missile weapons, which you can in the original game swap between missiles, which are homing on the fighters, rockets against heavy capital ships, and so-called swarm missiles, or swarm missiles that you can use to lock onto multiple enemy ships to destroy similar multiple targets at once. So I'm just I'm looking for basically the key that I need to change my weapons here. You can see in the upper right corner there's the Screw 500 EP, which is the plasma gun, which has unlimited ammo but uses energy to fire, as well as below that there are the missile weapons, which are limited as well. So we now change to the strike suit, which is basically what gives this game its name, or is a namesake for this. As you can see, this is in the the original version. You have like little videos that show you what to do, little tutorial videos. They changed this in the newer version. Excuse me for the coughing. This original recording is still is already a little bit older, and I was ill at the time, so.
Yes, Captain. I have a solution for the enemy ship.
Actually, you now see this is part of the tutorial. You're destroying wreckage to build up so-called flux, which is used to activate your strike suit mode. And strike suit mode basically makes you into this all-destroying ultra mech. You see here that can dodge incoming shots very fast, as well as this. You have a powerful attack for anything that's nearby that destroys fighters basically immediately.
Yes, sir. Orders confirmed. Moving into full position.
So, more enemies are coming in, and this is where things get very hectic because they're starting to fire torpedoes at the research station, and you have to basically shoot them down.
Let's see what that ship can do.
It now tells you how to lock on to multiple enemies to destroy them in quick succession, which again will build up your flux so that you can stay longer in strike suit mode. As you can see, I'm trying to fire here wildly at these torpedoes, but I can't actually target them, so I'm trying to shoot them down here, boost in front of them, and this is where I make a critical mistake. I'm shooting down the torpedoes that are around me, but I'm failed to realize that I'm in flight path 1, and I'm getting a directly hit by one, and I'm dead. So this is a new one.
To undergo a flight assessment before you can return to duty.
As you can see, they switched the style around quite a bit.
To the Earth fleet.
and they're emphasizing
Reynolds
the
will take you through your
Homeworld
evaluation.
aesthetic of the whole game even more than the
Remember,
original already did.
Your disciplinary detail is not over until the end of the
And
shift.
I have to say,
Copy that,
while
Command.
the original
It's been a
game was
pleasure.
good, I really have to go back
Until the end of
and
the
see if
shift,
I can
Reynolds. No
get the soundtrack
shortcuts.
for this director's cut. I haven't heard this
Adams, we'll start
this
slow with a
particular
freighter
piece
inspection
in
at
the
loading
original
platform.
game, and I really
I'm
dig it, and I
uploading
have
a
to listen to it
navigation
more.
waypoint to your ship now.
Story-wise, it's basically it's kind of run-of-the-mill space fighting game. You're some
They're all being sent
root
forward to the
pilot
fleet.
that
My team's
undergoes
already
training
there, and the only
and
thing
by
stopping me
sheer
joining them
accident is not
is you.
present when the whole rest of
Command
the
wants me
fleet
to
is
decide whether you're good enough to
another
fly.
year later, and you basically are
You
the
are
last
the last
hope.
ordeal in what has been a torturously dull disciplinary detail. After this,
So-
I get posted back to my unit. So, let's get it over with.
While I'm using joystick in this part of the game, you still see the tutorial messages are still
Locking in
for keyboard.
coordinates to our next destination.
And this is one thing I have to struggle a little bit with. As it still displays only the keyboard shortcuts, I sometimes have to really try to find these on the 12 buttons from my joystick, as well as I just found out here at this point that the pitch, that the roll and the
UNE freighter Proteus.
the yaw basically
She's been doing supply runs to the
is,
fleet for the last few days.
switched from what I'm used to from flying War Thunder and most of the other games I'm flying. Even though this for a flight simulator, or sorry, for space flight
Yes, you all
simulator,
set?
might
Copy that,
seem
Reynolds. Just waiting for
much
clearance.
more logical than
Old gate is
for
live,
in a
Proteus.
traditional
Please confirm your flight plan.
flight simulator. I had
Flight
to
plans
switch it after
changed.
this.
I received new orders about 5 minutes ago. I've been rerouted to some R&D station in the middle of nowhere.
So I'm just doing
Can't be
some
worse than back here, right?
aerobatic,
Still,
or is it then
I
called
haven't received an
basebatics? I
update.
don't know. Around
Hang
the
on.
freighter and the station here. And you can see this is much more
Yeah, it's coming through now. You're
colorful,
good
if
Copy
you
that.
can say that,
Moving into
than
full
the
position.
original mission was.
to go. Okay, Adams, stay close. We'll see her off.
And I find this game looks really gorgeous because it really plays off the Homeworld style of ship design as well as palette usage, and that it's really nice. Well, we're basically here doing the standard
File says
tutorial.
you were suspended on a psych evaluation.
My weapons are
It
still
says Adams was found dazed and confused on orbital 17.
turned off.
Adams displayed an inability to follow orders.
there.
Now that I can relate to. It's how I got bounced back here.
As you
It
can
also
see,
says you can't remember anything about it, which is pretty convenient.
your instructor is some kind of group pilot as well, so well, I guess she's one of the main anchor points of the plot then. No, but seriously, I mean, for all the stuff, I haven't played this too much because I'm more into multiplayer games, but I really need to take some extra time here, because even though this is only single player, as you may remember, the later TIE Fighter and X-Wing series games were actually heavily focusing on multiplayer, or even multiplayer exclusive. This is
Locking
only
in coordinates to our next
for
destination.
single player, so that the developer could focus wholly on the story arc and the single player experience without worrying too much about netcode and other stuff like that. So we're jumping here to the next area where we'll do some weapons testing.
Okay, we're clear of orbital 17. Let's see how much you remember about weapon systems.
So,
First, I want you to target the wreckage.
target wreckage, shoot wreckage, the basic run of the mill, and now it tells me I have to press B to lock a target, which I don't have. I have an old Cytec joystick which has 12 buttons, which is more than enough for most games, but
Okay, targeting
they're
checks
not
out.
numbered or
I'll
anything.
bring your plasma cannons
So
online.
even this,
When the frame
neither
of your targeting
the
reticule turns
keyboard
red,
shortcuts
you're in
nor
weapons
the
range.
Xbox. I think it's supposed to be Xbox
Let's see you
controller
take that wreckage apart.
button reference.
Don't forget, plasma
Do
cannons
any
drain
good for me,
weapons
and
energy.
I'm really.
Don't spam your shots. Give the guns time to recharge.
I didn't want to look up the controls here like I did in the first video because I was recording this, but I'm struggling with finding the correct buttons. I don't figure out which button to press to toggle my guns or my rockets, as well as things like using EMP pulse to basically deflect
Is this what Dazed and
missiles
Confused looks like?
when they're near, which is indicated by this increasing beeping sound
so
you
remember how
sound
to
you
fire
heard.
your plasma cannons. We'll move on to the missile systems. Adams, target another wreck. Hold your missile trigger until you get a tone. Release to fire. So far, so good.
So, obviously I destroyed enough
The Apex
wreckage,
fighter
so
carries a total of 4 weapons systems, 2 cannons and 2 missile systems. Always carefully select your loadout before launch and switch to whatever system is appropriate at the time.
you will unlock different fighter vehicles
Reynolds, we've
based on
detected
the
some
score that you
unauthorized
achieve
fault
in
signatures
these
in your
single
area.
missions, and you can basically
Got a
then
visual command, 3 targets,
use different
colonial
fighters as
Confirm.
well as different weapon
Destroy
systems.
targets and return to base.
Okay, Adams, playtime's over. Weapons free. Take
If you
them out.
played original Homeworld, this particular sound bit
Switch to machine guns
should
to strip down their
make you
shields.
feel right at home. It could have been ripped immediately from the game. So, depending on how fast you're flying in your ship, the faster or the slower you turn actually. So, it's good to basically power up your afterburners until you're pretty close behind the enemy, but then you have to really match his speed and movement, because otherwise he can basically turn around in front of you and you will shoot him. Which is a thing that, especially when you're using
Good work,
afterburners,
Adams. God knows how they got in this
works
deep.
or is really frequent.
I'm picking up an emergency transmission from the Proteus.
Oh look,
This is
that
Proteus.
freighter
We were
that we just
ambushed one
saw
far
from the
out. We are
station
under
is
attack.
now under attack, so we have to go rescue it, of
Proteus,
course.
we're within range. Transmit your location.
You better hurry. We're not going to hold out much longer.
Coordinates locked in. Let's go.
The different ships actually have different advantages and disadvantages. Obviously, with the normal interceptor you won't get the strike suit mode, but I think it's much faster than the strike
There's
suit.
the Proteus, and a lot more interceptors. Adams, watch those missile interceptors.
Missile interceptors,
Your
does that
ship will
mean
tell
that
you when an enemy has a
they're
missile lock.
especially vulnerable
Your EMP
to
can
missile
break the
attack?
lock, but timing is essential.
Let's find out.
Wait until the HUD gives you a range indication and a proximity
Obviously
check.
not.
Then fire the EMP.
EMP.
Weapons free. Take them out.
What? What MP? You can see me here. I'm desperately trying to find the button that basically fires off the EMP. So there's a bit of auto aim actually in this game if you're targeting or moving your targeting rectangle over the enemy, you can see actually it switches on to the leading indicator, which is quite useful, especially from the joystick user perspective, because it helps you basically iron out the whole little twitches that the fighters do relative to your movement. You saw there I took down the shields basically with my plasma gun and then shot him with or hit him with a missile a split second later. And one thing that I did notice here, you will see, in this newer version you'll get a lot more time with fighters to basically get accustomed to the fighter view and the fighter feeling here before it changes around to strike suit mode. So there's two left here.
Holding out.
Oh,
Nicely
too
done,
bad.
Adams. Screw the rest of the evaluation. You pass. Proteus, you okay?
Just about. Thanks, Reynolds. That was close.
So does anybody wonder why
Command, we're with the
there are
Proteus.
enemy fighters
The second stage
in
fourth gate
basically
is
in
fried.
Earth's orbit?
Understood. You have new orders. You and Adams are to escort the Proteus to her destination.
What? No! I'm tied back to the fleet to rejoin the 407.
You have your orders, Reynolds. You and Adams are to escort the Proteus. Unless you want another 2 months on disciplinary detail.
Fine. Escort the Proteus. And then?
Follow instructions on arrival. Only after that are you free to return to the 407th.
Okay, Adams. Looks like we're stuck with each other for a little longer.
So this basically was the first mission. As you can see, here's the mission finish screen. You're getting rank based on the performance. In this mission I've only achieved the bronze rank. And you can see basically there's on the left side of the screen there are the different kinds of targets that you destroyed. How many kills, what is score per kill you get, how many assists you get, time bonus, and basically what that adds up to. It's on the right side you see total target destroyed as well as accuracy and mission time.
Are these
So-
coordinates right? This place is deserted.
This is the second mission,
This is the
and this is
place.
basically
It's
the
not
same
in any
mission
of the
that you
charts,
saw
though.
at the beginning of the video.
Why are we here? Looks like someone's home.
Team Leader Reynolds, Adams. Welcome to the UNE's Thor Research Facility.
Who is this?
My designation is Control. You can refer to me as an AI, but that description is inadequate. However, we are short on time. An explanation. will
Total
have to
different
wait.
kind of mood set.
Colonial forces are closing on this position. I need the Proteus to dock so that I can leave the station.
Proteus, what do your orders say?
I gave the orders. You were told to follow instructions on arrival.
Confirmed. The orders were checked and verified.
Okay, Proteus. Dock and load up so we can get out of here and back to the fleet.
The first wave of colonial fighters have arrived. There are more coming.
So, as you can see, they basically changed the whole
It's free. Let's take them down.
missions for the director's cut substantially, because they wanted to give it
Control, I'm looking at your image
totally
and I don't
different
see an
move.
AI.
I am embedded within the
And-
body and mind of the scientist, Dr. Isabella Abram.
I really
Right.
dig this or like
Adams,
this
Proteus, give me
second
a
version
secure channel.
more, because
I don't like this. If this place
it's
is
much
important,
more
why was
closely
it
to
shut
what
down?
I've expected for
Why is she
a
left
fighter
here, and why is she calling the shots?
game in the Homeworld
We
universe.
should
It's
fold
like,
out and join the fleet. Those were our original orders.
Excuse me for interrupting your private discussion, but I would advise against your suggested course of action. I understand this is unsettling,
So.
but you are making decisions without the relevant data.
the AI currently is telling
There
you
is
that
only one viable path open to you, and that is to follow my instructions.
if you don't follow her
I do not have time to
instructions,
explain.
you will probably
Right, what's gonna happen?
be
The colonials
very
intercepted the transmission
dead very
container
soon.
your flight plan. They have diverted ships to investigate the source. Those fighters are just the beginning. More ships are
currently
approaching.
still trying to find
If we do
the
not
buttons
leave within
where
the
I can
correct
switch
time
my
frame,
weapons to.
there is a 98% probability that you will lose the war.
In the meantime, I think
If we leave
the
in
plasma
time,
gun is pretty
we can
good
reduce the
for
probability
against
to a manageable 87%.
enemy fighters.
If you stay, you will die here.
At this point, I haven't quite figured out which of the buttons is basically the
You
EMP.
expect me to fly this thing?
That will not be necessary. I
As you
have
can see,
checked your
I've switched
files.
around to the
If I
Gatling
aim to
gun, but
maintain a predictable sequence of events,
it
Adams
doesn't
is
really
out of the ship.
do the trick for me, because it's much harder to basically kill these AIs.
Okay, they're folding out. We bought ourselves some time. Adams, get in there and pick up the ship. I don't want
And
to be
we're
here
now
any longer than we have to.
Introduced to the
And
strike
Adams,
suit for the second
be careful.
time.
Adams, the ship you are about to fly is an advanced dual-role fighter craft called the Strike Suit.
For me personally, the controls of the strike suits are not quite as good with the joystick as with the fighter craft, because the strike suit very much relies that you are, when you're in it, do rapid movements with the mouse, lock onto multiple targets in split seconds, and then destroy them with the swarm missiles or the devastating melee attack
in the
there.
ship's default state, pursuit mode.
And
However, the primary feature of the
with
ship
the
is
joystick,
strike
it's
mode.
much harder to
To
do these
transform
movements.
into strike mode, the ship requires a specific type of fold energy. I call this energy flux.
Looks like a
I will launch some
much
drones to
nimbler
demonstrate.
version of a Robotech fighter for me.
Destroy the drones in pursuit mode to replenish flux.
The other thing I find it confusing, you see here, the AI just launched some drones for me to shoot at, and they're obviously marked as regular enemies. The problem with that is, in a few moments time, you will basically see real enemies
Adams, you have stored
Warping
enough
in.
energy to transform.
and
Transform into strike mode.
the game actually doesn't differentiate between real enemies and this target drone. So it sometimes you're then in the fight targeting something and then realizing that this is basically
Missiles or weapons
just a drone without while an enemy fighter is shooting at you. If you watch closely there, you could actually see that when the drone is a certain distance from you, you can't actually hit it with your melee attack. So
Now use the strike mode's cannons to destroy the drones.
the
Be aware that firing the
movement,
cannons depletes the
side to side
flux.
and up down movement in the strike suit that you normally would do with joystick with the keyboard is bound to the coolie head on the joystick. So it's a bit difficult to
In strike mode,
figure
the
that
ship
out.
can automatically orient to the next target.
That's one button I haven't found. Basically, you can switch between locked targets immediately, and the ship will basically swing around instantly to face it. But I haven't found that button yet, so
Wave of colonial ships is closing. It is
hopefully
time to
I'll
test your skills against live
do another
opponents.
video a little bit further down the line where I have custom myself with a joystick flight model or control model a little bit more. As you can see here, I'm still right behind this enemy fighter.
Is coming at you.
So I found the button that I need to use to activate the EMP to disable the missile. What I really like about this game is, apart from the aesthetics and that it's obviously a space shooter. There was a drone, by the way. We just marked as a target still, while there are real enemies that shoot back at you at the same time. What I really like is the feel that you get here. I would really dig this using the Trek IR even in this, because it would help you, give you a better spatial awareness than what you currently have. You need to look into configuring that as well. As you can see here, I tried to track this one, but I'm getting quite adept at actually
Use the strike mode
evading
missiles.
missiles.
Hold the missile button. You can mark multiple targets by moving the reticule over enemies whilst the missile button is held.
In this version, the
Release
swarm
the
missiles
missile
that you
button
saw in
to
the
fire.
first part of the video are
Beware
actually
that
only
locking
available
on
when
and
you're
launching
in strike
missiles
mode.
depletes the stored flux.
This is normal mode, and normal missile. It's still a normal missile. Now I'm in the strike suit missile, and you will see it shoots down. It shoots swarm missiles immediately.
Another wave of colonial ships is closing.
There you can see
You
that
use them to test the effectiveness of the strike mode missile system.
this close combat melee attack is really devastating, but you need to be very close into to the enemy. So you basically have to charge into a pack of enemy fighters, transform into flight mode, strike suit mode, and then just bolt around, targeting everything in sight or near you, and destroying it with this powerful melee attack. The strike suit itself is very maneuverable, but it's not very fast. So me, this with the joystick, it feels much better flying this ship in real interceptor mode. So, as I said before, you can see this new version actually uses or gives you much more time with this standard share of fighters than the original mission did. At this point in the original mission, you already had to attack or were being attacked by corvettes and stuff. Are you here still fighting it out against interceptors?
Larger group is folding in.
Copy that. Corvettes as well as fighters. Adams, take them down, but watch out for those turrets. This feels all wrong. Attacks back at Earth that here at the edge of ruining space.
See,
What the hell is going on?
trying to use the strike suit against a corvette, which works as well, even though I'm flying through the wreckage of the corvette.
We are waiting. In time, we will rendezvous with the survivors.
What the hell does that mean?
More enemy ships inbound.
I find the third-person view actually for strike suit is or strike mode is a little bit better because you get a better overview. You can see here. I just touched the afterburners for a second and I immediately overshot my target. Because I've changed the control mode in the in-between missions for the roll and yaw. I can control the fighter much more intuitive than I could in the first mission. Did you notice the Wilhelm scream just there? Was a little reference to the original Star Wars and the TIE Fighter and the TIE Fighter heritage as well. We're now closing in on the last few enemies. I'm boosting him in fighter form and now try to change to strike suit mode. Taking heavy fire here. Actually getting hit quite a bit. I'm trying to actually shoot down the individual weapon systems, but it doesn't really work. And I might have just boosted here into the enemy station, but the fighters are so disturbed by seeing me boost into my own station that they bail out. Don't want to face that madman that rams his own station.
The Proteus
So.
is loaded and ready.
Clear the station.
This was the second mission. I hope you really enjoyed it. Perhaps I will do a little video when I'm a little bit further into this game to show you a little bit more about it, and I will update one of the other videos of the Kickstarter series soon as well, to show you the new developments. So, even though I did worse than I felt that I did worse than the first mission, I actually got a better rating here, so figure that. Thanks for watching, and hope to see you in the next one. Bye.